Good morning. This is Larry Atseff with Hinsdale Magazine, and we're going to be doing an interview today with Dave McGowan. Dave is the CEO of the DuPage Foundation, a very interesting organization that helps nonprofits in DuPage County. Good morning, Dave. How are you?
Good morning, Larry. I'm just fine. Thank you for having me.
We appreciate the opportunity to sit down with you today. And I'd like to start out sort of at the beginning. That's usually a good place to start. When you were growing up, there obviously had to be influences that have stayed with you throughout your life. And as I looked at your background, it seems like you were destined to work in this field of helping nonprofits. Tell us a little bit about the influences that helped you get in this direction.
Sure. Well, like many people who work for or volunteer for a not-for-profit organization or advocate for a certain cause, many of us were influenced by our family and our faith formations. Those are probably the two biggest influencers on young people to become involved. And I had both of those. So I would have to credit my folks, grandparents, my brothers, my godparents down the street who were my aunt and uncle, and then their kids, my cousins, who were like other siblings to me. We were a pretty tight-knit group.
You were surrounded.
And I was indeed. And I watched, especially my parents, influence me with, for example, on Halloween, we were handed UNICEF cans and said, kids get some candy, good for you. But it was more important that we were collecting. In the early 70s, I was doing all the hunger marches. I don't know if there were 30-mile hunger marches. My dad would take us to wheelchair basketball games down the street at George Williams College. He was coaching. My mom was in juniors. And we just saw all this happening in our household. But also I'd have to credit the religious formation I had at St. Mary's in Downers Grove and the great role models I had in the nuns and the priests. So I had both family and faith that formed me.
Okay. So you went through high school and you started college. Tell us a little bit about how you prepared for this field, because obviously it whetted your appetite. What kind of background and education did you pick up?
Well, I had a marketing degree with a journalism minor. I was always interested in promotion, which goes hand in hand, I guess, with advocating for a cause or an organization. But I think I was a little bit in denial because when I graduated college, I went into sales and was selling business forms. And I did it for 6 months and honestly could not feel motivated in the position. A friend of a friend told me about a job in fundraising, and I threw my hat in the ring and realized later that that was destiny, and I was not quite aware at the time. And now here I am 40 years later of advocating for causes and organizations.
Great. So you arrived at the DuPage Foundation about what time? Go ahead.
No, I was 23 years ago this month, actually, that I started, and I had been working downtown for an organization serving people who are blind or visually impaired, and we built a very nice endowment in a short amount of time. Long story short, we needed to have a better internal source of funding, and when the DuPage Foundation position came available, having been from DuPage and having just had this great endowment experience, it was going to be a great marriage of those two personal and professional interests. And so I was a candidate and convinced them I was the person for the position and never looked back.
Terrific. So at the outset, you had to have some vision already, even with your relatively young start in the field, but you already had a feeling for this field. Tell us a little bit about how a foundation works as opposed to a nonprofit itself. The role you play between people who want to give and nonprofits that work. you have a unique role, foundations have a unique role to play in this, or in this field. Explain it for everybody, please.
Sure. Well, first of all, when I did arrive at the foundation, there was already a great team of volunteer leaders who formed and got the foundation moving forward. A couple staff predecessors that did a great job of laying the groundwork so that when I came in, I could hit the ground running. And I will say that a community foundation, the main essence of the business model is that we connect resources in the community with needs in the community. And I love being a connector. So there wasn't much I didn't understand from the very beginning. And I took what all the things that were put in place by these fine staff and board members and as I say, just kind of hit the ground running. The unique nature of a foundation like ours is that we're in the position to see all the activity in the community beyond, from health and human services to animal welfare, arts and culture, the environment, all different causes and organizations. We probably have the best vantage point to know what those activities needs are and what the activities that revolve around those needs are. So for the person who's really informed as to which organizations to support, when to give, how to give, with which assets, and they're completely informed and learned, then they're great just going directly to those organizations with their support. For those who might have questions beyond that, coming to the Community Foundation to have collective impact with other donors, it's such a great phenomenon to watch those individuals learn from us, connect with other donors, and then make their impactful grants together on those areas that we've brought to the table for them.
It's intriguing to me that you have this vantage point. You have expertise on staff. You have volunteers, I understand, who are experts in nonprofits and even in the corporate world, understanding finances. And they can contribute to the collective knowledge of what the DuPage Foundation can look at. And as you say, you've got this vantage point so you can see the length and breadth of all the nonprofits within the county. And that allows you, and I would guess you've got sort of like a dossier on almost every one of them, and you've probably got some scales or ratings saying these guys are in terrific shape and they deserve the effort and the money and the resources that we can put behind them. There are others over here that could use a little help, and maybe that's how we can help them. And you can prioritize your resources, both in money and expertise, to help the organizations thrive, and in that way help the entire community. Is that sort of a way of describing it?
Yeah, it's a great way of describing it. Our board members from throughout DuPage, our staff, our committee members, which from financial affairs to grant making, as you suggest, are all a big team that makes sure that all those business things are taken care of, but all the community activities are known and acted upon. The organizations we have in DuPage just do a great job and are working so hard, demonstrated how hard they work, especially this past year, keeping things moving. When some resources were diminishing and need was increasing, they rose to the occasion and were able to help their clients in great ways. When they approach us for grant making, the proposal in front of the grant committee member who's reading it, it's based on the merit of what they're trying to do. And so how many people will we impact? How sustainable is the project that they're asking for funding? What other funders are there? How much is their own board supporting? We look at all these factors to decide what's a really good investment. And in most cases, if we had the resources, we'd certainly fund almost every request we got. So it's really sort of, as you describe, which things are going to make the biggest difference of what's in front of us at that application process.
I noticed that you've broken the the nonprofits into several categories: health and human services, education, arts and culture, the environment, and animal welfare. That allows you to attack each category and organize your thinking and the approaches, and you develop expertise, and maybe even you can help these people share among each other how to get smarter in what they all do. I would bet that if we were to talk to some of these nonprofits and ask them, what do you get out of DuPage Foundation? Right after the money, they're going to say the knowledge and the ideas and the insights they bring on how we can manage our business, our organization and structure better. Is that about right?
It's very fair. Besides the more than $55 million we've made in grants to not-for-profits in the area and beyond, we've probably directed monies to them that didn't come through us in some large measure as well. And then we do capacity building and training around those areas. And we have held convenings of the cancer wellness groups, the food pantries, the animal welfare groups we've convened together.
To band them together so that
Absolutely.
they become a better resource to work together.
That's right. In fact, one grant we made to Hinsdale Humane Society was a grant for a database that would help them interact with other humane societies and animal welfare organizations in the area, because sometimes there's space in one and an overflow in another, and then they can work those differences out among each other. So to know that we have facilitated them working together is one of the best grants we could make.
All of this is great because it gets rid of overlaps that are unnecessary. It just makes for greater efficiency within each nonprofit and among the nonprofits that are similar to each other. So
yes,
all of this works together when you've got a smart team and everybody realizes the potential, and rather than fighting with each other, the watchword is let's work together, because out of working together, we do more than just working by ourselves separately.
And I will say DuPage has an incredibly collaborative group of not-for-profits. They work really well together, which makes it easy for us then to be part of that network and team. They really respect each other and look for synergies to work together. There are networks of people that lift each other up. And if I could say one thing again, especially because of this past year, if you support a not-for-profit in your community, or you know of a director, call that person up today and just say thank you for the effort, because I will tell you there are times when, not only speaking on behalf of myself, but advocating for all those not-for-profit directors that pour their hearts and souls into their organizations, boy, that pat on the back feels awfully good. So please don't hesitate to reach out and say thanks to them.
That's worth bringing up, and we'll do that in the article. I've got a thought here. Let me talk a little bit about, or ask you a question a little bit about big donors. Big donors can often go directly to the nonprofits, and you probably have opportunities to attract big donors. Why should somebody donate directly to you rather than directly to a nonprofit? There's got to be some rationale that you can give them that helps.
Sure. Well, the fastest growing area of community foundation endowments is donor advised giving. And so that's probably one of the biggest cases to be made, is that we're a great platform for an individual or family of means where they have multiple interests, multiple causes and organizations coming here, creating a family legacy in an endowment and then making grants off of that to those organizations is a great case why somebody would come here. Now, in many cases, these individual families have what we call fields of interest, like senior housing or the arts or education, after school, programs or whatever those are. Again, because those organizations change, again, bringing a field of interest to us and creating an endowment that allows the flexibility among those various organizations is probably a strong case. I will say that, again, the not-for-profits in our community look at us as a partner and an organization that generates more philanthropy, more so than a view of us as taking it away from them. And we've, I hope, over the years, been the reason why they can look at us that way, is that if there is a family with significant resources that wants to make direct gifts, again, if we can't add value, they don't want anonymity, or they're completely educated on the program and the organization, they absolutely should go directly to that organization.
Sure. So when they've got not only the interest, but the capabilities and understanding of what they want to do, they may go direct. But when they've got a large pool of money and they don't know quite how to attack or use that money efficiently, you're a natural outlet because you bring the expertise that they're looking for, and you can help them realize the areas they'd like to support. So
yes, it gives them the flexibility.
You play a role in that regard. So that's how you can make the case to the larger donors. How do you make the case to the smaller donors, the people that just want to give to somewhere and don't feel like, geez, my $100 may not be very much, but it's going to help someone? What should I give it directly to the nonprofit, or am I better off using the DuPage Foundation, where they can pool mine 100 with the other small donations and make a more significant contribution? How do you make that case?
That's a great question.
How do you promote that? And that's got to be one of your bigger challenges, is to get the small donor to pony up and see that, hey, here's a way for me to maybe make a bigger impact.
Yeah, excellent question, Larry. Here's what I'd say. Last year, in March, we started a COVID-19 response fund, and within days, we started collecting gifts, weeks, months. We then collected a total of nearly $1.8 million and have granted that out to the not-for-profits to, help them with their missions during those trying times. Those gifts were anywhere from $5 up to $500,000. We were, that was the beauty of a community foundation, is it didn't matter what size gift you gave, but you were part of this collective impact. You could say, I was part of the response fund that made grants totaling nearly $1.8 million. So that, I'd say, is a strong case for why that collective impact is important, even if you're a $100 donor, $500 donor, $1,000 donor. Now, here's what I'd say though about if an individual or family supports their house of worship, the local food pantry, their alma mater, their counseling facility that they're familiar with in their community, they should continue giving those gifts directly. Where we come into play is to teach the individual donor, if they're giving $1,000 a year, to consider putting a $25,000 bequest into their estate plan so that that organization will continue to receive that $1,000 a year in perpetuity. That's our space. Keep the $1,000 a year going to those 4 organizations, but make sure that the individual thinks about how to leave that legacy to continue supporting them. We also then are doing the training and capacity building for the not-for-profit, saying, have you engaged this particular donor who's been a loyal $1,000 a year donor in a conversation about how to leave their legacy? So if we teach both parties, we hope that we're and leveraging those bigger gifts out of estates.
Marketing is important in every field, and marketing, what we're talking about, is absolutely critical. And the response strategy that you just described is a great way to touch a hot button because it's current, it's of the moment. Hey, and people want to act on the COVID-19, and that had to spark it. And I suspect you're looking for those all the time. It's sort of like you've got to be on your toes and flexible at all times. There's so many ways that you can pool resources, pool money, pool talent, and then turn around and redistribute it. Right at the beginning of our conversation, you said the word connection. And maybe, just maybe, that is a key word that I think I would like to talk about as a strategic role that the DuPage Foundation plays. The connection between the donor and the nonprofit, and how the different ways that that connection can help both parties, the donor and the nonprofit. And maybe that is a key set of words to use in describing this whole process. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, very much so. The people that work here and that come to the board and committees all really love being connectors, and that's a great word for you to focus on about a community foundation for sure.
Tell me a little bit about the strategic plan that was Nate Wasson and some of the other people were involved in creating. What kind of guidance is that giving you these days?
Yeah, we have a pretty aggressive strategic plan kicked off last year, and a 5-year plan going through the end of 2024. So our first year of our strategic plan was quite interesting, of course, in that we had to completely shift how we did business and that the needs were so much in front of us. Some folks said, boy, did you have to pause the launch of your strategic plan because of COVID? And I said, the exact opposite was true. We took our strategic plan and put it into action in a way we couldn't have imagined when we signed off on it in 2019. Our strategic grant making through the Response Fund showed the community what we are capable of generating in a short period of time around a critical need. So for me, the timing was horrible, but it was a way to show the community what we are made of and what our plan has. So our plan has 4 quadrants. 1, public awareness, community engagement, because not enough people, as you just suggested, Larry, know who we are. Communications is a huge part of this. Awareness is huge. Second, growing our endowment for obvious reasons. The bigger our endowment, which now stands at more than $110 million, the more grants we can make, of course. Third is our strategic grant making. No matter how big or small we are, with what we are giving to the community, we're trying to be as impactful and use as much leverage as possible so that we can benefit the most people. And then lastly, our strategic plan recognizes that we had to build our infrastructure in order to support those 3 noble efforts on behalf of the community.
Anything else that you'd like to share with me this morning about what DuPage Foundation has in store for the future?
Sure. Well, the strategic plan implementation will show the community, first of all, not what we're just what we're capable of, but it'll show, more importantly, the need in the community. DuPage County has changed significantly over the past couple of decades, and we need to change. Certainly we have amassed great wealth in DuPage. We have some very resourced people, and we frequently are on the lists of counties in this country of having wealth, and that's great. But there are people with significant need in our community. And so if we can show people how to do a world of good in their own backyard, our tagline, that's exactly what we're trying to do. We don't want to. Pardon me?
Who came up with that tag word? That
Well,
tagline? I bet it was you.
It was not me. I would love to take credit for it. But our marketing committee with the consultant worked together and on a rebranding project, speaking to the importance of being known and recognized. And so I was so pleased with the products that they came up with. Our Seymour Impact is our lead message, and doing a world of good in our own backyard. So donors who give into causes in Chicago, into causes nationwide or across the globe, we're saying we have those issues here in DuPage, and we're trying to educate donors about those needs and how they can give locally.
That's why Ginger asked for those 25 copies of the issue that we did on Willowbrook. So you can send that out.
We're shipping it out, and we will do that. We will continue to make sure that people know about your commitment to the community and to philanthropy.
Terrific. I don't know if there's anything else we need to cover, unless you've got anything else. I'll look for you, the emails from your kids on why you're such a great dad, and we'll incorporate that in our story. And I think we've got enough here to tell why you have been a good father, not only to your family, but to help the DuPage Foundation grow and thrive and become a success in helping all of DuPage.
Thank you so much, Larry.
Appreciate your time this morning, and we'll be talking to you soon.
Sounds good.
Thank you very much.
Bye now.
Bye-bye.